Hi, James McCoy here, Rural McCoy Fishing. Today I'm going to share a few things that I used on the KATS tournament on Lake Bastrop 2016. During pre-fishing I noticed that there was a lot of shad out there in the coves, and some of those fish were hitting top waters and schooling. Others were just underneath the surface. So the first thing I used is a skirmish bait MK48 on a Phoenix C715 40-pound braid. The fish on tournament day weren't schooling as much as they were pre-fishing. Actually, there was hardly any schooling activity going on at all. So I caught a few fish on there, but nothing really to measure, to compete with. However, during pre-fishing, they're just annihilating this topwater bait. You'd see just a school would come in the flat, start feeding, catch a few, they'll move on off. Within maybe 15 minutes later, the school will come back into the grass flat. It wasn't producing for me on tournament day. I think everyone was having a pretty difficult time just because their normal patterns was not developing and not producing. And one of the reasons why is we had a cold front coming through. And so we're experiencing a lot of different seasonal changes in one day. It was really cool in the morning, then it started blowing a little bit, then it started raining, it felt like spring, then it got cold, and then it started blowing out of the southeast, then it switched back out of the northeast. And so during the tournament, the fish really weren't able to acclimate to what's going on in the weather. The other thing I used was the skirmish bait AIM 7 on a Phoenix PHX C744 Recon 2 series. I did get a couple 14-inch fish on this bait. They weren't very active as they were once again pre-fishing. Using this bait here, I was targeting the grass lines about 10 to 12 feet with a jerk pause retrieve, and that pause I was waiting about 5 seconds before I would even pull it. And I think that subtle 5 seconds that this jerkbait would just sit there, just barely move a little bit, and it was calling them in. And I caught some 14-inch fish on that. Ooh. And so I caught some 14-inch fish on that, and they were measurable. The other thing I used, which they're just once again killing during pre-fishing time, was a skirmish bait M9 square bill, and this is in cricket shad. So it has like a shad kind of bluegill color, so it was able to target both foliage of shad and bluegill. This is paired with the Manly Rods Gold Series crankbaiting rod. This rod I won during the Angler Combat Series. So far, I'm really digging this rod for crankbaiting. It's got a good action. I can cast it a mile with these guides, the Wave Guide series they have in here. It's a really good rod. I'm liking it quite a bit. So that's another tool that was in my arsenal for the KATS tournament on Lake Bastrop. And finally, I was looking at one of the grass flats that I like fishing a lot, and there's a lot of kayaks in there, a lot of power boats in there too. And I noticed one thing: they're all throwing either a square bill through the grass, or they were throwing a chatterbait, or throwing a rattle trap, and I wasn't seeing many people catch fish. And I knew there was fish in that grass, so I had to change it up. I had to do something different. Even though my pattern I had set up pre-fishing wasn't working out, I had to do something different. What I did was power shot. So I decided to power shot the grass. So I got a heavy drop shot weight on here. This is a PHX S723 spinning rod, Recon 2 series. This is great for drop shotting wacky worm. So here we go. This is what I was doing. That's what I got the majority of my fish on. Heavy drop shot weight, maybe about 10 inches from the hook, and I still had my worm wacky wormed. This wacky worm here is one of my favorites. It's made by Wave. It's the Super Soft Pro Tiki Stick. Have a really good action on them. But the thing is that I wasn't just targeting the edge of the grass lines. I was actually targeting small holes in the grass, about the size of a 5-gallon bucket. And I would drop this thing in there. I was catching right next to kite, so I just drop it in that hole. I just sit there, shake it a couple times, and I just let it sit for a long time. And I shake it a couple more times, maybe about 10 seconds between shakes. Nothing hit it, and I pick it up and move to the next spot. Those fish that I caught moved me up into 15th place, which I was really proud of, getting a limit on the conditions we had. It was just brutal out there, and so many people weren't able to pull out a limit, and these few techniques here I used definitely did the trick for me. I'll tell you another thing that got it for me was a good pair of polarized sunglasses. I have 3 different color shades, and depending on the condition, and on really cloudy, overcast days like that, I prefer a bronze color. And these are the Smith Optics with the bronze color. And what it was able for me to do is that it actually brightens up that grass a little bit and a little more defined. I'm able to see those little dark pockets that I needed to fish. Because I wasn't fishing the sandy pockets in between the grass. I was feeding those really dark ones. And just a little bit of cleared area in the grass, and just threw that thing down there. And that's how I did it to get a limit out of Lake Bastrop in these extremely tough conditions, and managed to pull out a 15th place. I wish I could have called a bigger one, but I'll take it on those days. It was tough out there. Thanks again. I'll see you on the water. Tight lines.